at 4:30. First on the agenda is 2024-271, a resolution in support of utilizing payroll withholding as a means for Summit County employees to contribute to the Stable Account Program administered by the State Ohio Treasurer's Office for the Executive and Fiscal Office and declaring an emergency.
Good evening, Council. Sarah Butchie-Gross, Executives Department of Finance and Budget. And here with me I have
Rebecca Armstrong, Deputy Director of Public Affairs for the Ohio Treasurer's Office. Thank you.
So the STABLE stands for State Treasurer Achieving a Better Life Experience. It's a free to the county program similar to a 529 plan. Next week, Treasurer Sprague and also from the chamber, we're having
Mr. Greg Kramer.
Here to talk about the program, and you have some flyers in front of you. Do you have any questions about the program, or I could tell you a little bit about it if you'd like today?
Go ahead.
It's a new program to the county. I believe we are the largest county that will be offering this to our employees. I think we're the 10th
The
to
10th,
adopt.
Yep. And the state of Ohio, of course, is a partner already. They were the first one to sign on.
Any other questions?
John.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Sure. It is an investment and savings account administered by the Ohio Treasurer's Office and available to eligible individuals with disabilities. The money in stable accounts can be used for qualified disability-related expenses, such as education, housing, transportation, medical expenses, and more. More importantly, stable accounts allow people with disabilities to save money without losing their eligibility for federally funded benefits, such as Medicaid or supplemental security income. And family members or an authorized legal representative can also open and manage the account on behalf of the individual with the disability as well.
So family members can contribute to this without causing a loss of their benefits?
Yes. Yep. I believe the gentleman that's coming next week has a savings account for his child. I believe the gentleman that's coming next week to speak about this program, he has a savings account for his child. Yeah.
So this is basically managed like a 401k, but through the state instead of a bank, essentially. Money goes in, the assets are managed by the state with some sort of interest bearing? No.
It's set up the same way as a 529 college savings fund.
Yeah. But it is managed by the state.
It is, yes, but we have Vestwell, so you can't go to the Huntington Bank and say, I'd like to pull out my stable account money. It all goes through our office, but Vestwell is the one, our manager, bank manager.
Right, but the money is managed for an investment strategy. It's not just you put $1 and you get $1 out.
It's however you'd like. So there's two options. You can use it as an investment strategy, or you can use it as your daily bank account.
Okay, but you are not insured or protected if something happens to those accounts.
I believe you are, but I can.
It says here that they're not guaranteed or insured. So do we know if they're insured by an outside party?
I can look into that for you.
That'd be great. Thank you.
What's the money invested? If you put money in and you want to use it as investment, do you recommend investment?
So there's three options when you go onto the stableaccount.com, your account. You can choose from three different investment opportunities. It's like the high risk, the low risk, whatever. So you can play with your money that way, or again, you could just use it as a general bank account.
And what investment firm does the state work with for those who choose to invest the dollars in a return strategy? Who does that, and how are those outcomes reported out?
So everything is gone through the stable provider, which is Vestwell. I'm not sure how all of that, unfortunately, but like I said, I can look into that for you.
Any other questions? I just have one on the withdrawals. I mean, let's say after 3 years that you want to take some of that money out for your child. I mean, is there any restrictions on when and how?
Nope, the only restriction is that to use your money, it has to be for a qualified expense. I'll let you determine what a qualified expense is. As we always say, it's whatever makes your life better, i.e. the name Achieving a Better Life Experience. So I've met a family, their son he saved up all of his money in a stable account, went to Disney World. I met a couple, and they actually built a handicap accessible house for themselves. So some people use it on a daily basis, going to get food or whatever. Some use it as the savings account or an investment account.
One more question, yeah, if you use this investment account and you're earning money, what type of tax? Do you, just like any other account, when you pull it out, you're going to pay capital gains or whatever?
I'll have to look into that. I'm not very familiar with the investment side of it, but I'll get you an answer. Yeah.
Any other questions? Can I have a motion? Ms. Rogers moves on 2024-271. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 2024-272, a resolution authorizing the executive to execute a grant agreement with Arts Now to provide funds for the Arts Forward program over a 2-year period in an amount not to exceed $200,000, with matching funds committed from the Knight Foundation for the executive and declaring it an emergency.
Hello, I'm Nicole Mullett with Arts Now. It's nice to be in front of you all again. Today with me, I have Christine Amer-Mayer from GAR Foundation, the president, and vice president of programs, Rob Lair, and also our board president, Lisa King, who you may also know as the executive director of Summit Metro Parks. So all familiar faces to you, I know. I'm here today to request $200,000 over 2 years for the Arts Forward grant program. This is something we popped in to talk to you about before. Arts Forward has a multiplying effect on our arts community. In the first 6 months of 2024, grantees from 2023 were able to secure an additional $186,850 in funding that came from local and state investments and individual donors. They even earned income through their projects. This project is not just about supporting artists, it's about growing and sustaining a thriving arts community. Collectively, Arts Forward grantees hosted over 560 unique programs so far in 2024, engaging over 14,000 people in the first 6 months of the program. What's more, they've created jobs. 268 people were hired this year in the first half of 2024 thanks to the grant dollars they received. I want to emphasize that Arts Forward is a matching grant program. When we talked to you about this before, we mentioned that an investment from Knight Foundation will be matched up to $1 million over the course of 4 years. So that's $2 million going in across Summit County for arts and culture programs that advance the Akron Summit Cultural Plan, which is a plan that was established by our community members. By supporting Arts Forward, you're not only helping artists in the community right now, but you're leveraging significant private investments to ensure that this impact continues to grow. And at this time, I'm going to let my board chair, Lisa King, say a few words.
Well, she already mentioned who I am, so in case you don't know me, and I'm a new face, I'm Lisa King, and I'm the Executive Director at Summit Metro Parks. But today, I'm here in my role as President of the Boards for Arts Now. When GAR Foundation and Knight Foundation presented us with the incredible opportunity to bring $2 million into Summit County's arts and culture sector, we eagerly embraced the fundraising challenge. Our arts sector plays a critical role in the health and vibrancy to our region, helping to make Summit County a place where people want to live, work, and play, and businesses want to grow. This investment represents, pardon me, a substantial opportunity for communities across our county. So far, we've awarded grants not only to Akron, but also to Barberton, Cuyahoga Falls, Stowe, Greene, and Twinsburg. Communities that, like us, understand the vital importance of the arts to our social and economic well-being. We're incredibly grateful that the executive is introducing this legislation, and I respectfully ask the council's support in approving this transformative opportunity. Thank you very much.
I want to give, as one of the partners who really helped to instigate this in Summit County, I want to give GAR Foundation to also say a few words if they're willing.
Good afternoon. Thanks for allowing us to share with you a little bit about this program. So my name is Christine Mayer. I'm the president of GAR Foundation, but I'm going to wear 2 hats. I should have actually brought a hat to indicate when I'm talking with my other role. I'm on the board of the Knight Foundation. So GAR and Knight, a number of years ago, supported the planning effort, the Summit County Arts and Culture Plan that Arts Now led and did such a fantastic job on, got lots of input. And then this opportunity is something that doesn't always happen when we support a plan. This is implementation of the plan. This is putting resources behind a really great plan to invite people to activate it and bring it to life. So we thought, wow, nobody ever comes back after they have the plan. I mean, sometimes they have their own resources to implement something, but oftentimes we have funded wonderful plans that remain exactly that, sitting on a shelf somewhere or, like in amber somewhere. So we were excited by the opportunity for this plan to become real and to invite the many arts and culture organizations and individuals in our community to implement it. Knight Foundation was also excited about the idea of implementation, and that's when they placed a large challenge grant. GAR, wearing my other hat, wants to make sure that when we have a big challenge grant from out of town, that we show up as a community and we show our commitment so that we can continue to import dollars when we have an opportunity like this. GAR has given $510,000 to this program over 3 years, so $170,000 in each of 3 years. And we've been really excited and energized by the projects that have come sort of out of the woodwork from people of all different stripes stepping forward to implement this program. So we're very excited about it. My colleague Rob Lair has done a wonderful job of convening other funders in the community to make sure that our friends at Akron Community Foundation who are here today have also stepped in, as have a number of other local foundations. So we feel like this has been a great opportunity for Summit County to show that we can stand behind our work and make really big things happen. And I appreciate you all considering supporting this as well.
Just one comment, council as a whole, sponsor.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'll move on this.
Liz? Ms. Walters moves on 2024-272. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we will close finance out in 4:43.
Public Works will come to order. We have one resolution to consider this evening, 2024-269, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a professional service contract with Michael Baker International, Inc. for engineering design services for the replacement of the Glenwood Bridge over Tinkers Creek, located in the city of Twinsburg in Council District 1, an amount not to exceed $422,990 for the engineer and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Heidi Swindell, Summit County Engineers Office. This bridge has been on our list for a while. We've been watching it, knowing that it will need replaced in the next couple of years. So we applied for funding for construction, and happily we did get that. So we've got $2.5 million for construction in 2027, 2028. So we have to get it designed, start that process now. We sent out requests for proposals. Michael Baker, Inc. was the highest scoring proposal, and we recommend awarding the design contract to them. Oh, also, the city of Twinsburg has some special requests for the bridge. It's a pretty big bridge. It's pretty nice. They want to do some special features and have a wider walkway, so they will be paying 20% of the design and construction costs.
Very good. Fancy lighting and that type of stuff?
Yep.
It's worth it. Those bridges, the one down by Zalays is so nice that you guys did.
Oh, yes, yes. And we've got a really nice faux arch one on at the Ravenna Road Bridge. You guys should see that one. I'll have to send out pics.
Oh, if you would, email me.
Yeah.
Let me know what that is. Thank you. Questions from members of the committee? Gloria?
Heidi, do you have a ballpark figure of how much you think this total bridge will cost?
Let's see, we got $2.5 million for construction. And then we've got 400,000. Yeah, we're going to be in like the 3.5 million total with design and construction.
Is there any accommodation for a bike lane, or is there one needed there?
Yes, there will be. We're going to be, the city of Twinsburg requested, basically pedestrian walkways, which could also be, we'll just widen out the shoulder, give room for bikes, and then the pedestrian walkway.
Any questions from members of the committee? Members of council? The public? Mr. Donofrio moved on 2024-269. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
Right.
carries.
Thank you.
Mr. Donofrio, thank you. Heidi, any other business come before the Public Works Committee? Then we are adjourned.
And I will call the Rules Committee to order at 4:46. We have one item tonight, 2024-270, a resolution authorizing the executive to execute an agreement and any other necessary related documents with the Akron Community Foundation in order to establish a supporting organization in accordance with the terms of Exhibit A to support the health and safety of county residents, and authorizing the contribution of an initial amount not to exceed $45 million and a total amount not to exceed $70 million of opioid settlement dollars for the executive in declaring an emergency.
Good evening, everybody. How are you all today? Good? Well, tonight is a very exciting night. Let me go back for some of the folks that were new and weren't here at the time. Bethany, you know what happened in 2016 with the opioids. In 2017, I declared a state of emergency, and we sued the opioid manufacturers. I'm going to shortcut it for a time, but we were chosen along with Cuyahoga County as the bellwether cases, which was an absolutely huge lift from all of our community members because we had to make the case. The day we were sitting in Cleveland waiting for the judge to come in and the jury, they had all been set, and we were sitting in the back waiting. Donna was with us, Donna Skoda, and we're sitting in the pews, and all of a sudden the rumbling started, okay, behind us, because we had all the suits on one side and all the county, Summit, and Cuyahoga on the other side. And Deb Matz, who used to be our chief legal counsel, was back in the negotiating room. She did a wonderful job. And we had outside counsel. We can fill you in on all of that. But at the end of the day, we got a $260 million settlement between us and Cuyahoga County. It was the largest settlement that has ever been made so far. So the split wasn't even. We had legal costs. We had all that other stuff. And there were two things that once we had the money that I knew I wanted to do. We have been putting money into this community since we got it. But two big things that I wanted to do that I thought would be game changers for our community. One of those is the Unitas platform, which you all approved. That, by the way, we already have 232 nonprofits on that platform. It's really incredible, and more to come. The other thing was to create something that would keep this money in perpetuity, helping our community. And in my mind, this is a community legacy that we are all a part of creating. Is taking this money and putting it into a structure. Now, this comes out of the county's hands, and it goes into an organization that is a supporting organization at the Akron Community Foundation. They are our community foundation. It will have its own 990, it'll have its own board, all those kinds of things. But what we really want to do is have that money in perpetuity to throw off annually so that it can continue to make a difference in public health and safety in our community. It's going to help folks that we don't even know we're helping now in future years. Looking at innovative ideas and being able to help craft the future. None of us know what that's going to be like 10, 15, 20 years from now. So to have something that will be that legacy, that will throw off that money, will be impactful, as opposed to spending brick and mortar or something on it that 20 years from now we'd be figuring out what to do with it. So we have a bunch of folks here tonight to speak briefly, but I wanted you to know from my heart where this is going, and hopefully you will agree. So I think, is John Paturis? Where are you? Are you coming up behind me, John?
That's what you want, please.
Come on, I'll stay up here with you.
Hi, everybody. I'm John Paturis, President and CEO of Akron Community Foundation. This is obviously a historic and monumental moment for our community, for its citizens, for the county, and admittedly, Akron Community Foundation as well. You have shown great confidence in us as an organization in the past. I'll have everybody recall the CARES Act resources of about $5 million for Health and Human Services and another $1.5 million that was granted out to the community for arts and cultural organizations. We understand stewardship. We understand accountability. We currently, and by the way, in my time there at the foundation since 2008, we've seen our assets grow from $92 million to almost $300 million. We had 300 funds. We now have nearly 900. There are, by the way, 200 endowments that benefit 150 different nonprofit organizations in the community. One of them that happens to be Lisa's at Metro Parks. We have been at the negotiating table and the deliberating table with Summit County representatives from Eileen's office for multiple years now. We've been very deliberate. We've done our research because admittedly this would be our very first supporting org relationship. And the fact that it's independence from your advice and counsel as well as ours, and that the leaders that will be recruited and identified to represent the citizenry of Summit County in making decisions about how this money will be invested, how this money will be spent, the kind of income that it will generate for the people in the community, supporting addiction, health and safety, mental illness in the community. I draw you back to the accountability that was necessary for the CARES Act money. And we were told by Brian and Greta and others that the audit that we had to do as an organization, and Jeff will recall that, and the need for us with the specific details surrounding all of those resources, how they were going to be invested, where they were going to be spent, and that they were going to be used for the very purpose that they were intended to be used. We got that, and with the staff team that we have, that at its infancy, we are very excited to be working with that new board of directors in laying out the framework of how they will govern and how they will administer and make decisions about grant making for the benefit of our overall community. That's the business that we're in, endowment building, and the model that we hope that we can share with that new board about the kind of investment policy there will be, what kinds of articles of incorporation and code of regulations that will be established that will absolutely dictate for this body, not handcuffs, but as Eileen has mentioned, guardrails that will shape how the intent of this fund as its origin will be continued to maintain for the community. And John Garofalo, who is our Vice President of Community Investment. Johnny, you may want to add a few comments, please.
Good afternoon, members of council. I have come before you in the past requesting funds for the Summit County Opiate Healing Fund. That was the result of the settlement funds that were awarded to ACF to give to smaller, more grassroots organizations. And I can tell you that that $1.25 million has made a tremendous difference in our community with these smaller nonprofits, to the point where they're asking, when can we get more? So we told them to be patient. I will also remind members of council that there was $1 million that was not part of the settlement funds that the county received, and that was through the Henry Schein Company, a pharmaceutical company, who gave $1 million directly to ACF for us to administer a grant program to organizations in our community. That has long gone. It's been expended. We have accounted for all of it, and the results and programs that came out of that are amazing. So we were looking forward to working with the county yet again in this new supporting relationship, and answer any questions that you may have.
Good afternoon, everyone. Donna Scotus, Summit County Public Health. Mr. Cassian, nice to meet you. I don't think we've met before. I'm here today on behalf of this. As you know, Public Health was involved heavily in the opiate lawsuit. I think at our level, we see the devastation. We know the folks. We see what happens to families. Substance use disorder is deadly. And so when this all came down and the money came, I think if we look at what Cuyahoga County did, you know, they kind of took their money, and we talked every week to Brandy Carney, was the woman who ran it in Cuyahoga County. They spent almost all their money. I think they have maybe $20 million left. They spent a lot on bricks and mortar. They spent a lot starting in 20. So 20, 21, 22, 23, we're almost in 25 now. And I don't know, and this is not in any way, shape, or form intended to in any way speak badly of them, but has anything changed in Cuyahoga County with the overdoses? And I think that the county executive's office is wise beyond her years to believe that we have in the future, we're going to have more problems. I can tell you right now, it changes every day. We can barely keep up. You know, xylene, fentanyl is in everything. There's no safe drug anymore. And we don't even know what's coming around the corner yet. And I can remember I was heavily involved in the tobacco settlement. And we were so happy and we had such high hopes that we would be able to stop individuals from smoking. Because if we know one thing, smoking kills you. And we were very happy. But then all of a sudden the money was gone and there was no money left. So I think the choices that Summit County is making is far wiser than what Cuyahoga County did. And I think you're going to see this benefit generations to come. And I think we'll have resources. I'm not saying there's going to be millions of dollars every year, whatever that generates and you're able to put out. But I can tell you it'll be state of the art, it'll be controlled, and it'll be responsive into what's happening then. And that's far more responsible use of those dollars. So I'm totally in favor of setting up this endowment. It's not an endowment, I guess. It's sort of different. But I don't know the legal stuff that had to happen to get it to happen because I'm sure it was a lot. But the bottom line is it will benefit everybody in the future for years to come. And we should all be really proud of that. Thank you.
Questions? Comments?
Yes, Mr. Wilhite?
I have to tell you, I'm sitting here like a little kid at Christmas. I've been following this since it began, and I wish I was a wordsmith to come up with a word that totally covers how amazing this is. I stopped at brilliant. If anyone has a better word than brilliant, let me know. But this has been absolutely brilliant from the beginning to right now. You, Madam Executive, were the one that had the guts to say, we're going after them. We have to put so many resources into this community every year to fight what happens because of what they were doing. And I can remember folks saying, yeah, all you're going to do is feed the attorneys. Well, let me just say, if this isn't an example, it isn't the best example I can think of how to pull a community together and make something happen. Look at the ladies and gentlemen that are in this room. And I know I'm going to come across as a brown noser because my organization goes to foundations all the time for grants. But we are extraordinarily blessed in this community to have these ladies and gentlemen do what they do every day. They've given us a gift to go forward. They've given my two granddaughters something that'll be in their lives as they become older and are active in this community. So I want to congratulate all of you, and certainly Eileen's team, Phil, Brian, Greta, all of you guys were amazing. As you can tell, I'm in favor of this. But what I want to remind everybody is this is cutting new ground. This is what we do as a community. We are amazing folks, and I say that to all of you with the utmost respect, because when COVID hit and we had to do the CARE dollars, there was no roadmap. There was no manual we could go to say, this is what we need to do with the dollars that we were given. And all of you performed masterfully, to the point that other counties looked to us to see how we did what we did. And when I say we, I'm only including myself as just someone on this dais. The talent happened out there. But if that doesn't give you a sense of comfort on how this is going to be handled going forward, this is brand new. There's nothing like this. But at every juncture, you have backed it up with research, and I think it's going to be an extraordinary thing. So with that, Madam Chair, I'm going to ask for council as a whole for sponsorship.
More questions?
No, that's Patoris.
That was the opiate manufacturer.
All right, I have a question for you. I do have a question for you. So like, when you were talking about the nonprofit, smaller, communities and stuff like that, reached out. So like, I'm up in the Nordonia area, and we have an organization up there that the residents in Nordonia have been raising money for diapers, backpacks for kids. These are kids that lost their parents to drugs and alcohol, and grandparents are raising them. And so, did you guys give money to any of these smaller nonprofit organizations that have?
You actually gave money through the resources from this settlement that have intermittently been given to us over $1 million,
$1.25.
$1.2 million that has actually gone, Councilman Darrow, to be able to provide for some of those smaller kind of grassroots folks that would fall through the cracks and maybe weren't, didn't have the maturity as an organization or the ability to write some wonderful grant request relative to the kind of needs that they have as an organization.
So as to your organization in Nordonia, no, we did not fund them because they didn't come to us.
Right,
But we
'cause-
advertised it, and if they will come to us in the future, we'll definitely do
All right,
that.
so I need some information on that because I do know that they did not get anything, and so, you know.
They have to
that
apply.
They come to me several times on that. And I was just curious, out of the 260 million settlement, what's left for Summit County?
70-some million.
Yeah, Madam President, the settlement was 110 million, and as of the most.
Before law.
Yeah, that was
legal
before the attorney
expenses and
fees and all the
everything else that went
expenses
along
that
with
have happened so far. And as of right now, we're sitting on an unencumbered fund balance right around 70 million, like the executive mentioned.
70?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was curious about that,
And remember, it will be up to this newly organized board of this new charitable organization, supporting organization, to determine what kinds of grants they will make, what types of organizations they will support. They will make appeals to the community to raise more money to put into this fund. They will issue RFPs with greater specificity about where they think the greatest needs are, because we have to admit what the need is surrounding some of these community problems now. What will it look like 20 years ago? When we were founded in 1955, I promise you addiction was most likely not very evident, or at least something that had befallen so many members of the community.
And then another question, will this be creating jobs?
If it will be downstream from the grants that are given.
Okay, that's it. I was looking up, I had some little notes here from.
No, that's okay. Bethany's got a
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the board of, this newly created board, who will make it, what will it be, who will it be made up of, and who will appoint that board?
There are, 4 different committees that we're suggesting, okay? Akron Community Foundation will have 7 appointments. The county will have 6 appointments, okay? And what was the rest of your question? Was there?
Who appoints the board, the
They'll
members?
appoint 7, we'll appoint 6.
And by the way, the representation of that board,
Sorry.
They will be appointed.
representation, I'm sorry, of that
Go ahead.
board will be people with perhaps medical backgrounds, addiction services, but also legal experts, people from the finance community. Because remember, although it's important that decisions are made about where the money will be actually invested and granted out to organizations, we also want to make sure that the fiduciary responsibility of that board and the skill set of those folks that are coming to the table is a fit for the kinds of decision-making surrounding the proper investment, securing these assets to be there in the future, managing the risk of the portfolio, hiring a financial consultant that will, as we have for our organization, that will make recommendations to them about the prudent investment of this portfolio moving forward.
And just Bethany and everybody else, the reason for the 7-6 split, and tell me if I've got this right, is that's the way it was structured legally. That's the way you could create an entity like this,
correct.
where ACF will have 7, we have 6.
That's correct.
And so as far as the 6 that are appointed from the county, will council have an opportunity to approve those 6, or who's that go through?
Brian, has that even been decided yet? No, but certainly, I don't know going forward, but I would assume on the beginning one we would.
But keep in mind, though, once they are appointed, and based upon the executive summary that you all saw, there would be 1-year terms for these people that can be removed, or can be renewed, excuse me. But it will be up to the authority of that new board in making, not the county, not ACF, in making determination about how will they continue, will they be renewed for another term. There's a skill gap that's missing, and the board they will take
Replace
that
it,
on of recruiting for that strength that they believe is necessary for that board moving forward as well.
And I will remind you, anytime you're in startup, this is what it is, it's startup. So what you need to get that started in terms of talent may be very different than 2 years from now when it's up and running. So we need to be mindful of that, And also mindful that the people that sit on this board don't have some alternative reason. Maybe they get funding from somebody. So it will be interesting as we set it up and we look at not only the people that are on the board, but are they in touch with where the county is as a whole? Because some of these organizations get like this, folks. They don't look left and right. I want this board to have a broader view of what's going on in Summit County, and that includes all 31 of our communities, not 1 or 2 of our communities.
And Eileen, we talked, if you don't mind, at our very last meeting last week, that there needs to be and there will be periodic opportunities for that board or their representatives to come back to county council, to come back to ACF and report on the progress, the advances, and what kind of inroads are being made in solving various community problems.
When you start giving out grants, I have a concern. We have organizations in the county, to be disrespectful, but your hand is always out.
Yes, we know.
And my hope would be, and maybe you can address this, that there may be new organizations formed that will be deserving of this money, but we would have the ability to say no to some of those other organizations.
I think that what I would hope that long-term would happen in this community, not just for this funding piece, but overall, is that we took a more holistic approach to what gets funded through our nonprofits. Because some do very, very well because they know how to ask, others not so well, but they may be doing very good money. This fund, in my mind, is designed for innovation, new ideas. Some of these smaller organizations have great ideas. They don't have the resources. For this board to be able to vet those, maybe do a proof of concept fund for a year or 2, see if it has legs, the idea works, and then fund it or not beyond that. Because we do have ADM, we have other resources here. And if you can prove it works, okay, then you've got a much better chance of getting it funded. You've got some data behind you. So I would hope that that would be a part of what we are conveying as we set up this fund.
I would add also that the Summit County Opiate Healing Fund is not going to go away.
No,
we hope
it's
to
not.
continue feeding that fund in order to help the smaller, more grassroots type organizations. So that hopefully will continue.
And the opiate advisement group will stay as well. The OAAC will stay in place as well.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Ford?
So I appreciate the kind of the independent nature of the supporting organization and the sustainability that it's going to provide for the future. You had talked about reporting. The lawyer in me, and I know these aren't the final documents, but the lawyer in me says that, or is requesting if you can make it clear with respect to reporting that it's not just reporting to the county, that it's reporting to council, so that we have an opportunity.
Well, council always has the ability to ask them to come in. The formal reporting structure, they don't report to council, but they certainly should.
Right.
Be
Just
able
come
to
in and,
respond
yeah, come in and give a,
demand or whatever,
yes.
Whatever criteria needs to be set to keep you all apprised. Yes. Okay.
Informational reporting, I guess, is my.
And Eileen, if you'll allow, also reporting back to the overall community. This money belongs to them. So that board will realize, and I would suggest we'll have and bring a communication and marketing expertise to the table to decide best how to disseminate fairly to the general populace. Here's how the resources are working for your benefit.
Yeah, the other thing I would add to that is, as we were working through setting this up and going through the details, so we worked with John and Steve Schellenbach, the VP of Finance over at the Akron Community Foundation, and the supporting organization will be reported out separately in their financial statements. So when you see ACF's 990 on an annual basis, that will be segregated out, and you can see exactly how much is in there and exactly what it's doing. So those were part of the conversations we had in setting this up.
They'll do their own audit. They'll do
Thank
their
you.
own 990. It'll become part of our consolidated statements in terms of assets, but that board's going to have to identify who will do the audit, who will be their financial consultant. Will the 990 be done by the same organization? Maloney and Novotny, for example, happens to be our auditors. Sure, we might think it practical to have the same organization do ours because that does ours do theirs because they have a specialty of nonprofit services, but that's not a foregone absolute's going to happen.
And we have legal counsel, what firm is Deb with? Thompson Hine, because when we started asking around, everybody either had a conflict with us or ACF or really didn't have the expertise in a supporting organization. So she's wonderful. She's done a number of these. It's just new for our community, but they're being done have been done all over the country. So we needed that kind of legal advice behind us because I'm not an attorney, but even if you are, you may not have any expertise in this. So, questions?
I guess my question's more about a different kind of accountability. Accountability of the effectiveness of the dollars spent. The longer the opioid epidemic has gone on, the more we've learned about certain dollars spent for education versus medical treatments versus other kinds of counseling and treatments, preventative care, have very different efficacies per dollar spent. And I'm wondering what kind of feedback we plan to get after we pay out the money. And in order to not pay out the money with no results, what's the plan for getting that feedback?
That will have to be structured through the board. But for me, stepping away from this conversation at the moment, I have always been troubled that money goes out. These are very difficult, these are people with lots of multiple issues. And it's difficult to quantify it. But I see many organizations, nonprofits, doing the same thing. So, and we're paying them all, and they don't know that the 2 doors down, there's somebody that does this thing. So as a big picture, if you step back from that, I'm pushing all of them. Unitas will, the platform, I don't know if you had a chance to see it yet or not, will tell us, I'm thinking in 12 to 18 months, we'll have some data in there that will tell us who's taking these referrals, what are they doing with them, are we funding you because we think you can write a good grant and we like you and so we fund you, but what happens to the people that we're funding? And so at a big picture, if you stand back, I'm trying to not just use this platform, this is only a piece of that big puzzle where we're trying to move our nonprofits and the organizations to places where we're making an impact, Joe. Okay? And that's where this is one piece of that, and we would hope that those grants, the outcomes, not just in terms of we saw X amount of people and got what was the impact? And that is harder to quantify, but you sure know it when you see it, don't you?
It is, and I think the keys, we do have some ability to say deaths, certainly, positive health outcomes, years of sobriety, things like that. We do have some ability to quantify, and I think we too often default to established organizations that maybe are relying on traditional addiction treatments that have now been proven less effective. And so that's something, I think we ought to watch for.
Eileen, let me offer this too.
Sure.
Most of our grant making as a community foundation is reactive. And we have 4 grant making cycles. We're in the middle of our Health and Human Services cycle now. There's already 62 applicants for $1.1 million. Trust me, we don't have that kind of money to spend. I would suggest to you that this model that's being created, that isn't even at its infancy, it's not even on paper yet, I would say it's going to be more of a proactive model to say, and as Eileen was describing, here is the problem in the community, here is, based upon the expertise that's being brought to bear of particular programs or services or outreach that would address that problem, and then issuing an RFP to the community to say, here's what success will look like, here's the outcomes that we want to see, and then we have, then they come in response to that, and that board and that grant-making committee that's a part of that board making the ultimate decisions to say, this appears to be the best investment, this one as well, these 2 we don't think will be as effective, that's the horse we're going to ride and the horse we're going to invest in. I think it'll be exciting of being able to have more definable evidentiary results of it made a difference.
And if
Thank
it
you.
doesn't after that year or two, you don't fund them again.
Well, I think that's fair. I think the other piece in my follow-up question, I give the county a lot of credit for making this money happen. It gives us a very unique opportunity, but it's probably a one-time opportunity. And so my second question is, are we planning as part of this organization, supporting organization, to have a data scientist or someone like that who can add to the body of data that we have on the efficacy of dollars spent per health outcomes?
The answer is yes and no. I don't know that we would have somebody full-time, but I do believe that the people that sit on this board, if they're looking at new innovations, are going to need some people that have the data and the research to help them sort through what really has potential to have legs or not. Now, if you get to the big picture, later on, some now away from this that I was talking about, I would certainly hope that we do. We do have that information through Unitas, but we haven't yet gotten countywide yet.
Executive, if I could jump in on that, and going back to Councilwoman Rogers' question originally. So your question about data, every dollar that's been invested, and we've invested about $15 million to date, has been in consultation with public health and with ADM. And your question about data-driven and best practice is the only practice that the executive has ever adopted. We only invested in agencies and organizations that use MAT and who understand what data-driven means and what best practice means. And so there's no doubt in my mind that that relationship will continue and that public health will always be available. I know their new director coming in, he's pretty good too, will be available as a resource. And really, I think one of the best things that's come out of this settlement and our investments has been the collaboration that we've seen with the county, our philanthropic organizations, and ADM. When John G. was talking about the $1.25 million that this council has granted to the Opioid Healing Fund, when we go through those applications, we sit down with the ADM director, and she will look at them and say, well, you know, we can't fund this, but I'm hearing great things about them, and we think this could be a cutting-edge, innovative type treatment, and you know, endorses that. Or she has often said, don't fund that, I can fund that. You know, let me look at a way in which we can expand what they're currently doing. So it has really emboldened this environment of collaboration and leveraging all of the dollars that we all have to spend. So I can assure you that from Public Health, ADM, the Executive's Office, ACF, we've all worked together really well up to this point and have let data drive our investments and best practices be the gold letter standard for us.
And I believe it's up to $25,000.
It's still to be, the opioid healing fund?
Mhm.
Yes, $25,000.
So, Rita, if you have questions, that's designed, that up to $25,000 is designed for those small organizations that do the grassroots work.
Madam Chair, I think one of the points Joe is making is that this is one-time money. And, you know, what's exciting about it is it's found money, it's not tax dollars, and the exciting thing about it is this will be in perpetuity. We don't lose the corpus of this going forward. We only grow it, and it's at a really, really good rate as well, so.
And we hope to raise more money for it.
Yes, it will have the ability to have others contribute to it if they want.
We know how to do that, too.
I would like to say, so like, I'm just gonna use like someone like Ford Motor Company, for example. Back in the day, a lot of treatment today is because you don't have long-term treatment. You cannot get clean and sober on going into the treatment facility and going in there for 3 or 4 days and then putting that individual right back on the street. It doesn't work. You need long-term treatment, and years ago, insurance companies paid for that long-term insurance. Today, our insurance companies do not pay for that. And that's what's happened when you actually are an active person on drugs and alcohol, is you need that long-term treatment somewhere where you can feel safe, and then the facility themselves will be able to, you know, set you up to go on to another facility, you know, like the ADM and all these different other facilities and stuff. So that's just my biggest thing. You know, I'm out every day, you know, helping somebody on drugs and alcohol. all the time. And, you know, just recently, last Sunday, I literally was meeting a young lady that needed help in Brunswick, Ohio, and I went to a club. And if I could have found the person that was smoking pot going into an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, I probably killed them, you know, because it's life and death. It's bottom line, it's life and death. And you know, somebody there needs that. And then for somebody to be, you know, since, you know, it's legal now, I mean, it's just hard for me to see because this is the reality everywhere you go. Going into the stores today, you smell it. You smell it everywhere. And it's sad. It's sad because there might be somebody standing next to you that once they smell that, they're going to want it. You know, that's trying to get clean and sober. So, but I think long-term is the best way to go.
I think John has.
Madam Chair, did you have something else? I was going to make a motion. It sounds like a really great program, the goals and the outcomes that are desirous. But I have some questions, so maybe I could, you know, Phil, give me a call. And so I'm going to move to table it. One of the concerns I have is the overhead.
I can't hear you, John.
I said one of the concerns I have is the overhead of creating, you know, a bureaucracy. So I'll chat with Phil.
Phil's got all those numbers. Those projections have all been done, John. He can give them to you right now if you'd like.
Well, I don't want to hold everybody up. So if, I'll make a motion to table it.
I just wanted to say that I appreciate the desire, well, first of all, the opiate settlement dollars, you know, are just such a godsend, and I appreciate all the work that was done on them, and, you know, the great importance of, you know, of addressing the problems of drug abuse and overdose in our county. And I appreciate the desire for innovation, but also, you know, with my nursing background, we always are looking at, measurable outcomes that are, you know, tried and true too, you know, that, and so I think finding that balance is important, you know, because it's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
And sometimes focusing just on innovation, we may not be putting that money towards something that we know is already effective, you know, and so.
Well, I agree with you, but we have AVM that has a stockpile of money that once something is proven or disproven, they can fund much more easily than the dollars that we have to spend. What we would be spending wouldn't move the dime. But that is not to say that they won't find something that isn't innovative. That's a good program. That's not going to be up to me. I'm just saying there's plenty of money out there once something's programmed, but they're going to decide what they're going to fund, and I'm not.
Okay. And then as I look at some of the categories here, there can be kind of a broad brush stroke on.
They're designed that way, to be broad brush strokes, so not to put those handcuffs on, to put guardrails on.
Yeah, it does give a lot of discretion to this
Not only the current board that's recruited, but a board 20 years from now.
That's right.
Who aren't locked in because the needs of the community may change.
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
First question I have, and I apologize if I missed this somewhere, but is the board going to have a staff, and what's the staff going to look like?
We don't, at the beginning, if we need to borrow services, we would pay ACF for those. What the board will want or not want will be up to the board, okay? But there are monies that are allowed in the budget if you do it one way, if you do it the other way. Personally, I don't see a full-time person out the gate. I do see somebody to able to help it set it up, but I don't see a full-time staff at the outcome. Much easier, I think, to start. So you figure it's startup, so it's messy. Why spend that money? But identify what you need, which I think is to somebody to be that catalyst and make sure things are moving along. And then the board will decide once we're farther down the line on what they actually need or don't need, or what can be provided by a service or not. Does that make sense?
Madam Chair, sorry, if I could just add to that, the pro forma that I sent out to council that had all of the fees through ACF. There are there's two columns. One is with an executive director or staff member, and one is without. In both scenarios, ACF will provide a certain amount of services to the supporting organization, the level of which changes to whether or not the board decides to hire a staff member or not. But those numbers are all the basis points. Yeah, the basis points for ACF are 0.65 without a staff, and it drops down to 0.5 with a staff. So their services are reduced a little bit because the staff member would be expected to pick a little bit up. But those numbers are in the pro forma.
Was there a second piece to yours, Erin?
Well, so continuing on that, though, it's hard for me to imagine this working without some sort of administrative. I don't know if this is working. It's hard for me to imagine it working without some sort of administrative staff. Just yeah. Well, but I'm wondering, is there any kind of limit built in, because we all know these things can grow, and I'm hearing concerns about overhead. We don't want to end up with, 6 staff.
Again, that would be under the discretion of the board as to how many staff. Now, in the founding documents, we could, if council or the executive so choose to put an additional guardrail in place to cap that, it could be done. But I think the way we've structured everything, it is at the discretion of the board that's put in place as to how they staff it and to what level. So our estimates have called for a staff person, executive director of sorts, but that is just getting it off the ground. It would be dependent on what the board.
Admittedly, getting it off the ground and when it starts at its infancy, there's going to be a lot of backroom work relative to policies and procedures and framework and applications for an accountant, for the investment work and other things. We know that stuff, and we don't believe it would be sensible to actually hire somebody, train somebody to do that at the infancy of this. That's the stuff that we feel confident, and we will create. We'll create a management services fee agreement at the very initiation of this fund to say, as we've given Phil and Eileen's staff that estimate so far, here is what we think is a reasonable basis points to charge to be able to do some of that work at its infancy, keeping in mind the more mature that this effort grows to, the more moving parts that there are, what it entails. At some future time, the need for a paid person that directly focuses their time and attention. Keep in mind, too, that Eileen has made very, very clear, any management service fee, and that's 65 basis points, by the way, is about half what our standard basis fee is of 1.25% for our management of the organization. We can't use that money and that fee for anything other than as it relates to this particular fund and this supporting organization. You hear me loud and clear. We cannot use that money to, pave the parking lot, or, we need an air conditioning unit in the other side of the building. We can't, it has to be accountable to that board that it is with great specificity used as it supports the work and the mission of the supporting org.
Just think it is 2 separate organizations, one startup and needs whatever help it needs to get up and rolling. And once it's there, then they can make decisions. In terms of limiting the numbers of people, how much did ACF start with, $1 million? How many years
Yes,
ago?
1955,
I'm looking for
1 million. And
$1
one
million.
fund, and it's now 900 funds with $300 million.
And 6 employees or 10 employees,
Yeah.
I don't think, I would hesitate to put a limit on it. You could probably put some language, but I don't think that limiting the number as it grows makes sense.
That was my question. So I know this is a unique organization and something new for you guys, but do you have funds that are specifically managed by an individual or a group of individuals, and how have those grown over time, or have they grown over time? Or is it just a full staff of ACF that manages all?
We have a main asset pool for the majority of our assets, but we have some unique relationships where there are outside investment managers that manage specific funds for donors. There's only about a dozen of them. Remember, this board will identify what will be the target for the investment portfolio, what's a reasonable expectation, what will be the equity, fixed income, alternative investments, cash. They will make a determination that doesn't have to mirror what we have in our main asset portfolio. The purpose for the early staffing is, if there's some marketing and PR that's necessary, we don't think it's necessary to go out and hire somebody with that kind of expertise. We have those folks on staff, so we can lease part of their time back to the supporting org to pay for their time to do that work. We have IT staff. We don't need to go out and buy a bunch of new computers when in fact we have resources and assets there and equipment there that can be utilized in the use of that computer, leased back to it. We think it's a more affordable way to get this thing started without there being such a huge outlay of building that physical infrastructure and what might be needed for the supporting organization.
And I believe, I'm not sure which firm it was, has done their due diligence, correct?
We're getting ready to contract with Sikich to do that, yes.
And you know, it isn't as if we haven't had a history with you, and the HELP is a fund that Akron Community Foundation has stepped up and helped us when we needed the help during COVID. You did a great job for us, and I trust that this will be the same. That the utilization of this money and the way you're setting it up, the cost that you're setting up, half of your normal fee, I can't see any loss in this.
By the way, it could be less than that.
But it won't
Because,
be more than
because we have to look at the articles of incorporation and everything, the timing. If there's grant making that's going to be done 5 times a year, it's probably going to be more cumbersome and costly than if grants are done twice a year. So that number might be low, that number might be high, but we can't, it has to be created, the board has to exist, and we have to look at the framework of their objectives and what they see they want to do or accomplish. And then we realize, and please understand, we recognize the need to be flexible on what that ultimate cost would be of this new supporting org, because you mentioned, it's brand new, it's something brand new for us.
Sir, if I can ask, who do you use as your audit right now?
Maloney and Novotny. And we just got a clean opinion for the 16th consecutive year for Maloney and Novotny.
Any other questions?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to table, and I just need more time. You know, I think this sounds great, and the Akron Community Foundation is a fantastic organization from everything I know about you. But, I mean, this is pretty big, and I'd like to see some more detail, maybe some contracts. So what did you just talk about a moment ago?
As we look to establish the supporting organization with Akron Community Foundation, the executive has asked that we engage an independent party to just take a look at Akron Community Foundation and do a due diligence study. The investment firm and all of the other things that they have in place.
And have you done that yet? Or?
I'm meeting with them this week. It's about to be under
So,
contract.
I mean, this doesn't need to pass immediately. We could get some more information.
We need to get this rolling, John, if we can.
Okay, well,
That's
we've
up to you
got,
guys. It's up to you
we've
guys.
got October starts tomorrow, so.
I'm sorry?
I said October starts tomorrow, so I would imagine we could wrap it up pretty quickly. If Phil will give me a call, we can
I'll give you a call
get some
tomorrow.
questions answered. So I'll move
Would
to,
you be kind enough to give Phil your questions so we can get them answered?
oh, I will, sure,
If-
yeah.
If the board decides to go ahead, that
Oh,
would be
a-
wonderful. If
of
not,
course.
Still get, either way, get your questions.
Yeah, I'll come down. Anybody wants to join, they're welcome to. I'll come down. We can meet in the conference room
I
on the
would
7th
prefer
floor.
to pass it if you can, but if you can't, I will do what we need to do.
You
Well,
can
that-
join us. You can join us too, Eileen. Sorry, Madam Chair.
That's all right. That was,
I think we would request that if council's does not want to pass it, they would recommend a second reading on it rather than tabling it.
Well,
the second part of my question was going to be what would be the effect of taking a little time on this?
The longer we sit on the money, which we have, so I'm going to tell you that, the less we get. But I'm telling you, I'm announcing this Monday, it's at the State of the County. I'm sorry, Wednesday at the State of the County. So we would very much like to, we're going to say we introduced it, but we would very much like to close the timeline between that and we're actually able to put something in place. Does that make sense?
So Mr. Schmidt has made a motion to table this or to move it to second read?
to table it. And if we could vote on it next Monday night, perhaps. Bring it off the table and vote on it next Monday night if the questions are answered to everybody's satisfaction.
All right, we have a motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye. Wait,
Is there a committee? Yeah.
Committee roll call, please.
Committee roll call? You have to say it. Yeah, I think
You're the committee chair.
chairman.
all right, Mr. Schmidt?
Aye.
Mr. Cashin? Aye. Ms. McKinney? Ms. Hyam?
Nay.
I'm going to vote nay as well.
But the motion carries. So
This item is tabled. Is there any more business to come before the Rules Committee?
table will put on second reading. Motion was to table it.
How long is that?
Yeah.
Council can make a motion to remove from the table.
Say that again?
Council can make a motion next week if they so choose to remove from the table. By majority vote.
Would it-
Anyone can make a motion, and then for the motion to be successful, would need a majority vote.
Can the full body do that today?
You're not meeting as a full council today, you're meeting as a committee.
And so if we, at a full body vote to take it off table
Then you
on
would-
Monday, then,
Then it would go for a vote, because you've already had your three readings.
Then I would request that Mr. Schmidt get us that information by Wednesday. Okay, then we would be able to move. Unless somebody else has other objections, happy to discuss it now. If you have any between now and then, please contact the office. We'd be happy to talk to you about it. But we will anticipate that next Monday you will take a vote on it. Oh, you will remove it from whatever it is?
Remove it from being tabled to a vote. Full vote of the council.
Okay. Everybody on board with that?
President voting would pass it.
Any objections to that? No? Thank you.
There's no other business before the Rules Committee. I will call it to a close at 5:37.